So you're saying there's a chance, and for the New York Mets, there is a chance right now as they have forced a Game 6. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Cohen here with you. The New York Mets are still alive as they continue the National League Championship Series after a thrilling 12-6 victory over the LA Dodgers at Citi Field. It was in live atmosphere yet again. And look, this series for the Mets, as we all know, up to this point, has not gone their way really at all. 3 blowout losses to the Dodgers in Game 1, and then Game 3, and then Game 4. And it's looked like that this team going into Game 5 was on the precipice, and they were on the precipice of potentially getting knocked out early in this series and getting knocked out at home. And one thing that I've been harping on a lot on social media and also in an interview that we did with Julian Gagliarte of Dugout Station is the Mets had to find a way to avoid losing at home, get this series out of Citi Field. Whatever happens in L.A. happens in L.A., but considering the kind of year the Mets have had this year and the way they have won games and pulled games out of the fire and the kind of season they've had and the special year they've had with the fans, they had to come out of Citi Field with a victory. They had to get that win here. Too many times in Mets history have we seen this franchise lose at home in a critical playoff series. It was a long stretch, in Mets history. Mentioned this in my video on the Mets-Phillies series, where the Mets seemingly would lose every clinching game at home, whether it be to the Yankees in the 2000 World Series, the Royals in the 2015 World Series, to the Giants in a wild card series in 2016, the Cardinals, obviously in the ALCS back in 2006. The worst thing that could happen is, after such a great season, to see the Mets go down at home. So for them to go out there, have the kind of game that they did, and give the fans something to cheer about, absolute kudos to this team, because all year they have been this way, folks. They started 0-5, they didn't give up. 11 games under 500, and then going into that London series, 9, 10 games under 500, didn't give up. Got their season turned around, as we all know. And even in this postseason, just to get to the playoffs, coming back the way they did against Atlanta, coming back the way they did in Game 3 in Milwaukee. And, of course, the link between that game in Milwaukee and this one is the man who's the free agent to be, and that is Pete Alonso. What a day for him. Another big game, 2 hits, and, of course, the biggest of all being that 3-run home run that gave the Mets a 3-0 lead in this game against Jake Flattery, who dominated them in Game 1, and to have that kind of effort, and for him to have that big hit, for Alonso to have that big hit in a big spot, that just changed everything for the Mets. It loosened everything up, it loosened the stadium up a little bit more, and this team just caught fire. Starling Marte had 4 big hits in this game. 3 doubles for Marte, including 3 RBIs. His 2-run double made it 5-1 Mets, just continued the onslaught, and everybody really, for the most part, got involved in this game. The only guy who didn't have a hit, ironically, was the guy who's been the hottest man in the lineup in this postseason. And in the series, Mark Vientos, he went 0 for 5. Remember, Vientos had home runs in Games 2 and Game 4 of this National League Championship Series. Jesse Winker, Francisco Lindor, both with RBI doubles in this game. It was the kind of game the Mets had to have. And I also like the fact that going into this game, there is the fear that, are they going to go with Kodai Senga again, and like they did in Game 1? And then they mentioned late last night, early on Friday morning, that Senga might come out of the bullpen instead. They never even used him. It was David Peterson getting the start, as it should have been in Game 1. He got the start here in Game 5, 3 2/3. Okay, he got hit up a little bit, gave up a couple runs, gave up 6 hits, but he got the Mets through 3 2/3 innings of work. And the bullpen did a very fair job trying to get out of tough situations. Yes, Reed Garrett had a tough time, but Ryan Stanek Great job. 2 and a third innings, giving up only a run. He struck out 4, and then, of course, Edwin Diaz doing what he does best. And, usually when we see Diaz pitch more than an inning, it usually isn't very good. But today we have the good Diaz, for that matter, and he went 2 innings, gave up nothing, and he struck out a pair as the Mets win this game, and they move on. There's just something so special about this team. I don't know what's going to happen in L.A. I really don't. The Mets could go out there and lose Game 6 in L.A., and the season will be over and will end what has been a tremendous season. But for them to go out there and show that kind of guts, and the kind of guts we know that this team's capable of, and we've seen them do it all year round, this is why the fans love this team. That's why the fans love this group and this core of players, because they just have a willingness and a desire to fight at every which way. They never give in, ever. They're tenacious. And this team is going to go into a Game 6. It's going to go into L.A. They have an advantage in Game 6 to the Mets with Manaea getting the start against a bullpen day for the Dodgers. And if the Mets win that, and it's anything can happen in Game 7. But for them to, at the very least, get it back to L.A., considering the way this series was looking, especially earlier this week, great job by the New York Mets. Absolute great job. Also, we all know we have the other team in town, as we all know, the New York Yankees, very much involved in this postseason. They're in a war right now with the Cleveland Guardians. Giancarlo Stanton had that big 3-run home run that gave the Yankees at the time, a 6-2 lead. But Cleveland came all the way back. They tied that game at 6, and right now the Yankees are in front as I'm doing this. Alex Verdugo and Gleyber Torres getting the job done. Verdugo taking advantage of an error to help drive in a run, and then Torres getting a base to the drive-in Anthony Volpe. Yankees up 8-6. Yankees win that, and they will be in full command of that series. They would be up 3-1 if they win that. And you know what? It's been an incredible run for the Yankees in this postseason. Yes, the American League Central, the teams they've been playing, are not great. And this is not a great Cleveland Guardians team. Certainly the Royals team they saw earlier is a very young team. But they're finding ways to win, the Yankees are. And they're finding ways to win because with their offense finally starting to get in gear a little bit. And Giancarlo Stanton, Juan Soto, even Aaron Judge, and I know Judge had a very quiet LDS, all those guys have started to hit. And when those 3 guys start to hit for the Yankees, good things happen. And even Austin Wells now getting to the mix as well. He had a home run in Game 4 for New York. So I know people want to talk about Subway Series. And I know that there's that, hey, if the Mets find a way to, come back in L.A., and if the Yankees can wrap it up here against the Cleveland Guardians, it could happen. It could. I understand that. Is it likely to happen? Not really, maybe not. Percentages are against it, obviously, but at least the dream continues for another day, and certainly going into the weekend, as the Yankees look like they're going to be, unless the Cleveland Guardians walk this off in spectacular fashion, Yankees will be up 3-1 in that series. And, of course, the Mets, what can I say? Again, what a comeback, what a win for the Mets here on a getaway day in Queens as they go back to L.A. That series now 3-2. And as I said before, we all know if the Mets can win Game 6, who knows what could happen in a Game 7. It's been that kind of year, folks, for the Mets, where they just find ways to amaze you one way or the other, especially in the win department. Like and subscribe. We'll talk to you next time. Sunday is going to get crazy around here. We'll talk later.
3, 2,